All
We
right.
are live. Welcome everybody to the Beyond the Lines podcast by Lines of Liberty. As you know, we're dedicated to supporting our veterans and first responders, offering them fishing trips, outdoor adventures as an outlet for mental health. Um, just giving them a moment to recharge, maybe not think about PTSD, stuff like that. But as you know, I'm Captain Gene Hammond. And we have a good one today. Just go around the room real quick. We got Mr. Chris Kelly. How are you, sir?
How you doing, Captain? Good to see you.
Good to see you, man. Chris is a U.S. Navy veteran. You are retired, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, eight deployments to the Persian Gulf. We'll get into that in a second. But behind the scenes here, we got um, Captain Scotty Bacon back there, making it all happen,
Hello,
pushing the
everybody.
buttons. How you doing, Scott?
All good. All good. Glad to be here.
Looks like you have a 4 foot flood cut there behind you.
Oh, absolutely. Seeing that still don't have things together yet. So,
Oh
Still
man,
waiting.
I've been dealing with that stuff all day, man. But we'll just get into it. And Chris here is like I said, is a U.S. Navy veteran, multiple deployments to the Persian Gulf. He's also the president of Number 12, the Saltstrong Nature Coast chapter. Right, good
That's
stuff.
it.
Good stuff. So let's get right into it, Chris. Like, how do you become? Let's talk about your Navy service. What made you join the Navy?
So when growing up, I grew up in Pasco County. We did, what most kids do. We went out on the weekends and played in the mud up in northern Pasco or in southern Hernando County. And I just decided I wanted something to get me out of town, and college wasn't going to be the way. So instead of a scholarship, I chose a Navy ship.
Yeah.
I joined right out of high school, left here in June of 2000, and I retired just south of 22 years in September of 2021. So
And
promised
20.
myself I'd never move home, so I bought a house in Hernando County.
Well, I've fished with you several times now, chasing snook, and we've done a few tournaments and stuff. But 22 years in the Navy, man. What was your job in the Navy? What'd you do?
So my rate was gunner's mate. That was my technical specialty. The ins and outs of it day to day from E1 to E5 was mostly small arms maintenance, magazine sprinklers, fire protection. And then you start getting into that middle management position where you're getting more and more exposure to managing work centers, a little bit of ammunition accounting. You're working your way up to basically staff NCO, which is where you guys are. So as a GM1, I was doing more ammunition accounting, anti-terrorism training supervisor, small arms instructor at that point.
Yeah.
And then I went out west to the training team where I was doing inspections on ships, making sure their undersea warfare program was up to speed. Because by then we had already dissolved one of the other rates called torpedomen, so we made them gunners mates. So now we had their weapon systems underneath our purview as well.
Wow. Okay. So when you were a small arms instructor when you deployed to the Persian Gulf, how do you do that on
For
a
some
ship?
of them, yeah.
Yeah. How do you do that on a ship? Do you have a range on a ship, or do you shoot out into the O? How does that work?
We do. So the Navy Small Arms Qualification course, afloat, which is what we were while we were deployed, requires a 15-yard pistol range, and it can be accomplished with a 15 or 25-yard rifle range. Obviously, some of this stuff has changed. I've been out for a while, so I don't have the current specs in front of me. But while I was employing these qualifications, we had just switched to the 15-yard qualification for seagoing commands. So basically, when I was on the amphibious assault ship Wasp, which was my first ship, we had flight deck elevators, kind of like aircraft carriers, and we had the required amount of range, and we had wood on board. We built our target backings and basically just used the ocean as our safe range and shot from one end of the elevator to the other at standard Navy transition to pistol target, and then we kept score that way.
Wow. So you were on the USS Wasp?
I was on the Wasp from 2000 to 2001 to 2004. Yep.
Funny story I got for you. After my military life, I was a satellite engineer for iDirect government.
Mhm.
I flew out to Washington State to do like a geographical hub redundancy test on satellite communications, and the USS Wasp was near Hawaii as one of my remotes. So
Nice.
yeah, that's pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. So
Yeah,
you
she
would
got to
set
do a lot of
these,
cool stuff even after I left, so it was neat.
yeah. So you would set these ranges up on the deck of the boat, or where were the ranges at, basically?
So on the amphib and on the aircraft carrier, because I was also on Truman, we used the elevator. When I was on the destroyer, we used the flight deck because we had a flight deck on the DDG. So
Yeah.
same concept, right? We'd step off 15 yards, set the targets up on the aft lifeline, which is the back for you Army guys,
Yep.
and we'd we'd shoot into the ocean with using the standard Navy transition 2 target. So it was pretty cool.
Very cool. And this was part of a yearly qualification that the people on the ship had to have that you oversaw.
Yep. So standard qualification with live fire ammunition is required once a year.
Yep.
And then it can be supplemented while you're forward deployed with what we call the electronic qualification. So if you have FATS or the PRISM system, you could requalify with that they called it a sustainment course.
Yeah. Very cool stuff, man. Scott, you got anything for him?
No, well, again, Navy guys, the old Navy guys, not much there,
That's it.
So, no, I don't have anything at the moment. Yeah, but
Scott Bacon's Air Force.
that's
Probably
right.
messed
That's
up.
right.
Oh yeah,
he's more messed up than all of us. I'll tell you that right now.
It's all good.
Yeah, and Amy Hart.
It's a good thing we're all on the same team, or this would be a different conversation.
You're right. Amy Lockhart gives a shout out to. She's on, and Mike
Amy.
Stevens is on, and
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't have well, I haven't pulled it up yet, but I don't have the live comments yet. So if you see them, obviously you're seeing them. So please give us a shout out. So how do you get to be it takes a leader, kind of a leader's mentality to kind of set up what you did in up north here. But let's talk about Saltstrong. Why open a chapter? How do you get involved, and how do you become president of that?
So I was, as most of us know, what happened from the end of 2019 to the beginning of whenever it was done. I was in San Diego with nothing better to do but go to YouTube Academy, and I came across one of Joe and Luke's videos and decided that I got tired of watching Florida sport fishing YouTube videos because I'd seen them all, and they were in between seasons at the time. So I started watching Saltstrong videos, and I'm like, you know what? These guys seem like they've got it dialed in. They've got a great model. They took a chance on themselves and succeeded. So it was something I wanted to be a part of. When I became a member in 2020, I was still out there. Obviously, we were fishing in it's called Mission Bay. So I was like up against that California fishing style. Luckily, there was a guy that worked down at Dana Landing, had grown up in Holiday, so he knew where I was coming from fishing. The world is this big, I promise.
Yeah.
And I decided, hey, I want to try some of these proprietary, baits and techniques and tactics that they're showing us and see if they really work. So we put them together. I had a buddy of mine that just bought a boat, so we were like, let's go try it out. And it was something that I really wanted to be a part of. So fast forward 18 months, they did a great deal for our life membership. So I decided to upgrade because I knew it was something I didn't want to stop doing. So that was a no-brainer. Retired, moved back down here. Got a phone call a couple weeks later from Dennis Kelly saying, hey, I love this thing called Saltstrong. How do you feel about it? I see you've been a member for a while. I was like, you know what? it's a pretty good gig, and it's just getting better. You know, I've met a lot of great people, and I've had a lot of good opportunities to not only educate myself, but also add some of my experiences in, obviously, on our community, which is awesome. So out of the fact that neither one of us wanted to drive to Tampa all the time, it became, hey, we need a couple more people to get together, and we can start a chapter here on the Nature Coast, which wound up being headquartered here out of Brooksville. So he called me. We called a couple other guys and made it happen. We sent our, requisite information to Mr. Mark Dunham, and he said, if you guys really want to do this, we'll do a Zoom call. And we got together on video chat, and all of us were all in, and we made it happen. And now 16 months later, we're still going strong.
Yeah, it's going good up there. I've been up there a few times to speak for you a couple of times, and went to a couple of meetings. It's hard, it's seems like it's a full-time job to keep it up and operational and keep people motivated to go, and getting guest speakers in there can be tough too. Kind of like, getting content for a podcast every week. You just got to keep rolling, whether you like it or not. So. But Saltstrong, Joe and Luke are fantastic. I love them. Every time, as everybody knows, I'm more of an offshore fisherman, but I'll go. Sometimes I'll text you directly on what's working. Those toys. What's your favorite bait from Saltstrong that you use? You're more of a.
So right now, I've been throwing. You and me both been throwing these tweakers. Yeah. Obviously, this is probably one of the best stick baits, and I don't have to cut the old Cincos in half, because that's all I was doing when I went from place to place, because all you could find was freshwater lures. These things are great. They cast great. They swim good. They bounce good. And then the 2.0 just works everywhere. That's all I was throwing last week when I was down in South Texas. Yeah. So.
Yeah, we got a few pictures of
it
that.
Gets done.
What was the deal with South Texas? You went flats fishing down there? There you go.
So I earned a vacation, right? I had to go up to Austin to help the wife's mom and family move some stuff around on their property, and then I was able to spend a week with her dad down there in Aransas Pass, which is right outside of Rockport, between Rockport and Corpus Christi. So I spent 6 days down there fishing my face off, dude. It was so much fun.
Yeah, that looks like a great.
But yeah, it's all inshore right
now. Yeah, I picked up a boat out of Corpus Christi through Aransas Pass and brought it to Tampa one time, across the Gulf of Mexico.
Mm-hmm. That's fun.
What are some of the major are there major differences between how we fish here in Florida and that estuary over there? Is it pretty much the same?
The biggest thing that I always have to remember is that there's a lot more hard structure here on our side, just because we have a lot more limestone bottom than they do over there.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's a little bit. I feel I don't ever like to use the word easy, but I feel like it's more consistent year round on their side in certain places than it is here, just because the fish over here have to go so much further to stay in that temperature comfort zone.
Yeah.
Than they would over there.
So
I gotcha. Yeah.
I just wanted to, if you don't mind, just a couple questions from my side. So not to go back a lot, but just talking, as you were in San Diego, you were stationed in San Diego. Is that correct? Is that when you?
Yes,
when you started...
I was at 32nd Street at the training team.
Right. So when you were over there, did you do any fishing in the Pacific side of things?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, we fished a lot of Mission Bay, some of the kelp beds, and we were finding a few, I want to say, relatively inshore spots, just because Mission Bay is more of a bowl, and to me it reminds me of the Skyway Park, right? You've got hard structure, you've got some sand bottom, but it gets real deep real fast, and it's a little bit different technique and tactic than I was used to. So I had to, obviously I was watching some videos, and we didn't have a lot of insider reports from the West Coast at that point, Now we have, I don't know, I lost count. I think last month we probably had 10 or 15 of them that just came up on my feed. So I'm sure there's a few more if you do the actual region search. So we've gotten finally a lot more interest, up and down the Pacific coast, which is awesome. So It's just going to help us, add to our info, add to our smart spots, add to our library. Just having that knowledge base on the water it's priceless.
Right. And then just kind of trying to talk about the YouTube searching, and you talked about getting on the YouTube Academy and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How much from the beginning did that really up your game? I mean, what experience level did you have in the beginning prior to that? And then how much did it help you up that game, up your fishing game?
So I don't usually like to toot my own horn, but since it's warmed up,
Toot,
it's
baby, toot.
it's one of those things. Growing up here in Pasco, you have probably one of the greatest fisheries, in my slightly educated opinion, because I haven't been everywhere in the world, but we have probably one of the most vast fisheries, if not in the state, if not anywhere else that I've ever been, because you have so many different conditions that you can get to within, a 5-minute walk down the beach, or a 30-minute drive down 19, or, you call a friend up here in Homosassa and you've got it's amazing. So that put me a little bit ahead of some people that have only fished the Pacific Northwest or have only fished the East Coast. Cause I grew up, with my uncle up in Maryland, dragging the Chesapeake Bay for striper. And so that's pretty much, up until I can move around on my own down home. I remember going up there, and we were, dragging for striper. We had the old 4/0 Senators with the penny wire on the reel, and the bottom rigs for, blues and croaker. So that's all I knew. And once I decided, hey, inshore fishing is probably more fun, because I got a taste of it, wade fishing right down there in Holiday. And I'm like, yeah, this is what I want to do. So I started getting more and more into that. And I realized that we had enough good water to where you didn't really have to choose where you wanted to go. You could just go different places, and you wouldn't get back to the same place until you were ready to go back to the same place. So it's just, I love it down here. I don't think there's a better place to have more options when you wake up in the morning, no matter what the weather's doing, unless obviously like today, it's blowing a million miles an hour and it's raining its face off, but you've got plenty of options.
Yeah.
So, well, in my opinion, so let's talk about a little bit of those options. What options are we speaking of? Redfish? Snook?
So they call it the Sport Coast for a reason, right?
Yep.
So redfish, snook, trout, and I mean, you can ask Terry. There's still flounder here, and there was flounder up until they destroyed Reddington Pier, just a little bit further south. So just those 3 sport fish alone, people pay good money just to come down here, because most of them have never seen a snook in real life, let alone caught one. So that, along with the consistency of the structure that we do have here that holds those quality fish, there's guys that have their own YouTube channel that come down from Crystal River to fish here twice a year. So that should tell you something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are you seeing a lot of, what about tarpon? Do you get you got tarpon up there also, right, in the summer months, late summer months?
I haven't personally seen them. I've only heard about them.
Yeah.
So that's going to be my next fish. I've gone scuba diving. You've seen the pictures of me scuba diving with them, but I want to actually catch one and get a quality release.
Yeah, it's tough to, you got to, even here during the May, June timeframe, I'll run a few tarpon trips. But even when you see them rolling, sometimes it's hard to get them to bite. But they are around in the summertime.
I find everybody that I've talked to has that same opinion. So I'm curious to see what they're, because I liken it a lot to, I feel like snook are kind of the same way, right? So if they're going to eat, they're going to eat. And if you're going to get broke off, you're going to get broke off. and it could be a juvenile snook or it could be a monster. You know what I mean? You never know.
Yeah, the really good tarpon that I've caught in this area are the ones that I have not seen rolling. If I see them rolling and I'm following a pod, or I see a pod coming towards me, they never bite. They never bite. It's always the ones you don't see.
Okay.
That's the ones I catch. Yeah. So they're around. They are
right, because you're not and you're not expecting it, so you're in the fight before you even realize it. You're like, oh.
Yeah. So I know being the chapter president, you've had me up there during specific times of the year, whether it's Memorial Day or I think the last time I went up there was on D-Day, the anniversary of D-Day. Is there a big push within in your chapter to do more things for veterans and first responders, or how does that work into the chapter dealings monthly?
So we're still obviously taking our time to make sure that our community events are not only quality but max participation, right? So we've got a couple of members that have access to the fishing club up north, so we do a lot with kids fishing up there.
Yeah.
Did I lose you?
No,
Nope,
you're
here.
still there. Still there. We can hear you. Can you hear us?
So we're getting into kids fishing, and now that you're up and running, we've got a connection with our next charity that's got the right idea, getting vets, first responders out, because we both know water is healing, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like you and I are going to be doing lunch in the very near future, because we also got to talk about trolling for snook.
Absolutely.
And we need to come up with a plan. And I'd like to get us involved, because there's plenty of great water up here, and we've got a pretty good base up here that could benefit from your program as well.
Yeah, I need to do a better job of getting to the chapter meetings here, and getting to the chapter meetings up north as well, just to meet people, get the name out there, and try to do as much as possible, like we always do, But I knew from the get-go, you and I were going to be friends for a long time, because Army veterans and veterans that have deployed to the Persian Gulf, and we had a good time fishing, man. I think you were on my boat the first time you caught a snook trolling, right?
And we won.
Yeah, we won. That's right. That was a good time.
So, a question out there. So when you were over on the West Coast there, did you ever see any big sharks or any great white sharks over there, or any whale stories you can share with us?
So there is a couple spots on the air base down at North Island that you can actually get out on a couple of the old pieces of the seawall. And I was standing next to a young man who actually caught a 4-foot, I guess they called brown reef sharks over there. I think it looks a lot like one of our white tips here, but it didn't have the same wings on it. It was a reef shark species. So I know there's 4 or 5 of them. I'm terrible. I'm forgetting the name right now. I apologize, but it was neat to see it, because I'd heard stories of sharks coming in there. So it's always a potential catch, but no, unfortunately I didn't get to see any great whites. I wish I had. That would be cool.
That's very cool. Anything else, Scotty B?
Oh, I got a lot of questions, but I don't know how far we want to go here, because I'm that one. A lot of our viewers out there, obviously, we get people from all over the country that view this, but I like to talk about how good the fishery is here on the Nature's Coast, as we're trying to lead in there, and then also talk about the Saltstrong, talk about our fishery, the snook, the redfish, all of that stuff. But if you could if you could give a tip to some of the viewers out there or anybody listening, if they were to come down here, what would one thing that stands out in your mind that you could tell people about our area or our fishing or bait to use or anything? What would one thing that you could tell them? Something that you would leave with them.
I feel like any given day, from Crystal River down to the power plant, in Anklo, you can go out there with a 3.5-inch paddle tail, your favorite mirror lure, or a 4 or 5-inch jerk shad, and as long as you know how to look for ambush points, current flow, and if you have the ability to use both of your eyes that you've been blessed with to see birds, and you can cast pretty decently, you're going to get on some fish.
Okay.
A good tip, man.
Yep.
Good tip.
I don't think it matters where you go. There's plenty of fish here because we don't have as much pressure as you guys do down south yet. So don't tell anybody about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't move here. It's horrible.
Right.
Horrible.
Yeah. Exactly. Worst fishing ever.
Yeah, worse. Well, it's good, man. We got to get together real soon, and try to get some snook in the boat. I need a snook. Need snook in my life. What is what's the one thing in your fishery that's like the most challenging thing that you have to deal with? Like the other day, I get a call from my neighbor, next door neighbor. He's like, "You got to go to this spot." I was on a school of about 40 redfish, blah blah blah. I went out the very next day at the same time. There was nothing. There was nothing there. So, what's the most challenging thing that you think in our fishery is? For me, it's finding those.
You can find that here. It's same concept, right? So if you go out of Bayport and take a right, it's probably 3 or 4 rock piles out there. Any time of the day you can find them, and then you go out the next day and it's crickets. So it's also a lot safer. I hate to use that word too, but down where you guys are, because I don't have to worry about tearing my skag or my prop up like I do up here. So that's one of the biggest things to watch out for, rocks, and especially at low tide.
Yeah, there's a lot of lower units laying around up there. I've seen. I went just a little further north of you, out of
I made that
Steenahatchee.
New Year's Day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Fished out of Steenahatchee, and I was probably it was like new moon low tide, and I had to be 4.5, 5 miles offshore, and I still ran aground.
Oh, yeah.
Still ran aground in the Hughes. So got to be careful up there.
It's crazy.
So another question for you: do you get any sizable inshore cobia up there?
So we've been blessed to have captains that we can call that don't even hesitate to tell us yes to come down and speak, right? So we have a few that certain times of the year they'll find them within that 2 to 3 mile mark, and it's fun to hear about. But now I want to go catch them because I love catching cobia. It's fun.
Yeah, and it's funny that we keep saying this, and people are saying, way up there, way up there." I mean, we're not that far apart. It's not that far for people, and It's just such a good fishery.
Yeah, big shout out to Mr. Roger Bird, who's listening to us right now, commenting on Facebook. He's an old friend of mine.
Awesome.
Great guy. But any more questions there on YouTube or Facebook?
That's it for now.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So what's next this year for the Saltstrong chapter? And if people are in your area, how do they come meet you? what day are your meetings on? How do they sign up? Stuff like that.
So if they're already Saltstrong members, you can click on our Nature Coast tab, click on the events tab, and it'll give you the opportunity to see our schedule, which we meet the first Thursday of every month, and at 7:00 at the Marine Corps League post right up here in Brooksville, which is just north of US Highway 50. And we do some notes on there for guys that for people that are coming down, as well as we have our contact numbers on there. So if that's the if the tab is there, or if you have some extra questions, my number's on there. They can give me a call anytime. For non-members, we encourage everybody that comes to the meeting to bring a friend. Just because once you come in and you enjoy that fellowship, it's hopefully something that's contagious, and you're going to want to be a part of more and more.
Yeah.
So that's probably the easiest way. Have, it's just like that old saying, right? To be one, ask one. Just come to the meeting. It's pretty easy to get to. We have some good IT guys getting ready to get together right now. We're going to work on a newsletter as well. Hopefully we can get some information out that way. But we also have a great charity that we partner with, Saltstrong Alliance. Darlene does some excellent work. So she's always pushing our name out there for people that come from up north. Or if she's up there working at Sodium doing stuff, she spreads the word for us. So we've got a great team here, the four of us, between here on the Nature Coast, Sport Coast, and Pasco, Tampa, and St. Pete. So it's just a great place to be. You've got four options with great leadership teams, great members, and a lot of gorgeous water. So I definitely recommend anybody, especially the guys from the East Coast that don't get to do a lot of low pressure inshore fishing just because of how many boats there are on the East Coast. Come on over here, give us a call. We'll be happy to take you out anytime you want.
Excellent, man. What days is it? The third Monday of every month that you meet?
First Thursday.
The first Thursday of every month?
First Thursday of every month.
Man, I had that all messed up.
So I will see you the first Thursday in April.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, man,
Pasco's meeting is the third Monday.
That's right. Well, if you have any more questions, Scott, man, this is we really appreciate. What's that?
One more came in just while we were talking here.
All right.
You and again, I'm going to ask a question to ask the question that comes online. But do you do any stone crabbing? Are you
I haven't, just because the blue crabs are more prevalent where I normally fish. Mm-hmm. So we usually just bring a couple lines and we're just catching blue crabs. It would be awesome. I also want to go scalloping now that I'm home for scallop season. I really want to go try that. I've never been scalloping either. Knock on. I don't know why, but I've never done it.
Gotcha.
Are there a lot of stone crabs up in that area? They get up that far north?
So I've heard there's a lot of good spots right out of Hudson. There's a lot of good spots out of Arapica, and there's a lot of good spots out of Homosassa. Or not Homosassa, I'm sorry, Hernando Beach. So there's a couple 4 or 5 channel markers in that 5-6 mile range, and I see traps there all the time. I've never gone out looking for them.
I gotcha. I got some traps out there right now. It's been a very slow season for us, but we just keep moving them around until we find them. Whatever. But
so Gene, where are those traps? I'm getting hungry.
That's all you can do.
They're not very far now. We moved them. We had them probably 2 to 2.5 miles out. And then we moved them out to like 7 miles. Didn't do very good. Now I've moved them all the way into like 5-6 feet of water to see if we can get better results there. But it just hasn't been real good this year.
Should be.
Gotcha.
Hasn't been good at all. But anyway, I think
I just remember growing up, Gulf Harbor's always having the blue crabs and stone crabs. So we never bothered with them.
Yeah. Yeah, Yeah, there's a few blue crabs around here too, mostly up into the, deeper into the estuary and the rivers. That brackish water is where most people catch those blue crabs, I think.
Sure. Got them in the trap right now. So
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, Chris, we certainly appreciate your time. We appreciate your service. You got a toy to show us there? There you go.
Yeah, you're gonna come up here April 3rd and talk to us about using these for snook.
Okay. We can do that.
So what do you got there? Why don't you explain that a little bit?
Yeah.
Come on.
That's
somebody.
It's a 4-inch Strike King.
Oh, and what
Oh,
are we
yeah.
doing with that? And what are we doing with that, fellas?
Snook candy.
There you go.
Yeah.
We're
So what I
dragging
do
for them
with those
snooks.
is I'll take them and troll them primarily at night through canals. Troll it like 3 to 5 miles per hour through canals. And I did really good up in the river when I lived off the Anclote River, like way up past all the bridges. But we'd troll them at night. It didn't matter if it was moving water, moon, no moon. Just go troll them. Those snook can feel that vibration. It's really good if those things are bouncing off the bottom too. Just troll it behind the boat, and I think we caught 5 or 6 that night, didn't we? For the tournament, maybe 5 or 6.
That night we caught 2 or 3 that we actually boated, and then the next morning we caught 4 more, and it was amazing.
Yeah,
like I didn't realize that it was just that much fun. Like trolling is usually boring, but when you start hooking up snook 2 at a time, it's unbelievable.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
There you go. Another tip of the day. Troll them lures for snook at night. Look at that. That's what our fishery can provide to everybody.
Yep.
So
Well, we appreciate you, Mr. Chris Kelly. I'll be up there in April. I'll come talk to you guys if you like, and give me a call tomorrow, and
Yes, sir.
we'll set
Love
up
to
a
have you.
plan to go fishing before then. But hey, talking to everybody out there in the social media world and the YouTube world, we need help. Please subscribe, share it with a friend, share, like, and subscribe. And we also have a place on our website there for donations. It is not cheap, it's not cheap to take veterans on the water. We need help, and you can do it right on our website there. But thanks for listening, and with people like Chris Kelly, we're going to make a difference and get more veterans on the water. We appreciate you.
great job. Tight lines, boys.
High lines.